Michael.
All right, welcome everyone once more to our session today, how FIU builds human engagement in online classes of any size and keeps the AI resilient. We're excited to be hosting this webinar today in partnership with Harmonized Learning. And with that, I would like to introduce our presenters today. We're joined by Michael Wright, who is the Associate Director of Instructional Technology at FIU Online, and Marcus Popetz, who is the CEO of Harmonized Learning. I know they have a great presentation for you all today. So the floor is all yours.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get rolling, do a little deeper introductions into who we are as humans versus robots and take it from there. Michael and I, or I should say Michael, simplified the title a little bit, really robots, humans, and the space between, because it sounded more fun than the title we originally wrote.
Yes.
And fun is important. So a little bit about who we are. Starting with Michael, because he's going to be doing most of the speaking. Michael, if you want to take it away and give a little more in-depth into that beyond just your title.
Yeah, sure. I think that title, well, Happy Earth Day, everyone. I think, when you hear that title, it may not give a lot of context into what I actually do here at the university. And so I wear many hats, but kind of the first one in the role on our FIU online team is I lead our innovation team. And they're charged with many things, but one of those is researching, procuring, and training on educational technologies and different pedagogical practices to help us stay relevant and at the bleeding edge on anything in instructional learning. And so I get to work with incredible instructional designers who look at the best tools and look at the best ways to up our ante in the digital space for learning. And what also is kind of a benefit, and I think a curse to my team, is I'm able to be a faculty fellow in our honors college, in our College of Liberal Studies, where I teach fully online, face-to-face, and hybrid. So many of the items that I'm speaking to you all about today are from all perspectives as an administrator, as an instructional designer, and as a faculty member.
Cool. And I think this is the thing that most fascinates me about Michael when I talk to him is that he actually truly does both sides, right? Like he is leading the charge on what are we going to do? What's the best practices for AI in the classroom? But also, I have to teach this, and how the heck is that going to work? And please don't make me cry tears of sorrow because you've increased my workload 50 times or anything along those
Yes.
lines. And I think this is my favorite part of my job. So I tried to become a teacher and it was too hard. So hat tip to all of you out there. And instead I'm in technology. And as part of that, like David actually was chatting with Michael about some of this AI work he's doing. So Harmonize is sponsoring this webinar because it's awesome. So just hang tight. We're going to get into this a little bit more. There's going to be a small part of this. I'm going to demo some of Michael's assignments in Harmonize, but we're going to try to keep the Harmonize stuff to a minimum because we don't want this to be about Harmonize. We want this to be about Michael's work. If you do want to learn more about Harmonize, and there is time at the end, I can hang out and talk about it, or you can hit up our website and check it out. That'll be kind of the last of my sales hat from Harmonize side. We'll throw that aside and carry on from there. And I think the thing that most fascinates me, the thing that's my soapbox right now, is that all of this, we're in a lot of AI fear right now, and there's a lot of power from AI as well. And which of our educators out there in the world are walking that line super effectively? And so with that, I will now turn it over to Michael to talk about his project and where we go from here.
Yeah. Marcus, I had my mind racked at like, how do I start this off, right? Because a ton of us were talking about AI either all the time or being spoken to about it. And so many of us at some point, we almost feel like we get it, I understand it, I'm there, like, let's get to the next point. But I think every once in a while, it's important to kind of reframe where we all might kind of really align in this place. And so, Mark, I'd like to test you out. I have a collection of AI or not tests to start off the presentation with, and to everyone in the audience, maybe you can join us as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to present to Marcus in the next slide two jokes. One of them was written by AI. The other was written by a human. And Marcus, I'm going to ask you to identify which is which. Now, One of them may be AI, one of them may be a human, I'm sorry, or both of them could be AI, or both of them could be a human. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how closely you all get it right, but let's jump into our first joke. So our first joke is
Sorry about that. I went the wrong way somehow. It started going backwards when I clicked.
yeah.
There we go.
All right. What did the horse say after it tripped? And obviously it says, "Help, I've fallen. I can't giddy up." Huh?
So
Huh?
bad.
I think it's brilliant. I think, oh, you see, we got one laugh out of the audience. All right.
Yeah, one.
Margulies.
There are 100 people
Oh,
in
no,
this
that's okay.
audience,
All right.
Michael.
Second joke. Why do horses never get lonely? It's because they always have stable relationships. All right, Marcus. Both of these obviously gold. SNL is chomping at the bit to get me to write for them with this kind of material. Which one was AI? One of them? Both of them? Or are they both people?
So I didn't write the poll to say which one was both people, so hopefully that's not the answer. So I'm gonna go with I think the one on the left is human, because it's doing wordplay with giddy up. I mean, yeah, the wordplay with giddy up that I don't know that AI could do. And
Okay.
and looking at the poll questions, it is, wow, it's kind of split. It's
Yeah.
60 people disagree with me, 60% disagree with me, and 40% agree with me. So which one is it?
Wait, so you think human is giddy up
I think
and
human
stable
is giddy up.
relationships is AI? Okay.
Yeah.
You are correct. Human joke was "Help, I fall and I can't giddy up," and the stable relationships is the one that was written by Claude. Actually, I expected more from Claude. But that's okay. You did really well on this one. Are you maybe an AI whisperer? Maybe. Let's see if you'll get
Maybe.
on this next joke. All right. This
Spend way too
one,
much
it
time.
goes. This one goes back a little bit. What do you call a pterodactyl that won't stop talking? You call it a terrible listener, but at least it's never terrified of public speaking. You see what I did there is I used Terra. It's
You
also
don't
in
have to
the
explain your
okay.
dad joke.
All right. I'm sorry. Okay, all right. That's fine. All right. We'll move on to the next one. We'll move on to the next one. All right. This joke could have been written by or a person or me. Why can't you hear a pterodactyl going to the bathroom? I think you already know the answer here. It's because the P is silent. I don't know if that one was appropriate for OLC, so I
For higher
apologize.
education.
I'm unsure if that one was clean.
A little 13-year-old humor doesn't hurt in today's day and age.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. All right.
this one I honestly don't know because my logic fails on this one because you're doing wordplay on the left that is phonetic, but on the right it's also phonetic, and I don't know. I'm going to take a wild stab and say AI wrote the one on the right because the P is silent.
Okay. Wow. The poll for a second was like 50-50. It's incredible. And the one on the right was written by a human. Marcus, you got that one wrong. Yep. AI to the left. And let's see, did you? Yeah, well, all right. I think we won 51%. By 1%, you all guessed that correct. Now, this was fun. And I think it's important to know that AI can be funny, but I think I want to drive this home a little bit more personal and relevant. I have two assignments that I teach a course, a hybrid course called The Power of Play. And in that course, I have students create a song that they're getting to teach someone a topic from their subject area, from their major. And so one of these students, they wrote the song and wrote the lyrics themselves, and the other one, the lyrics were written for them by generative AI and the song suggestion. So Marcus, we're going to play both and have you all suggest. If you could play just 30 seconds of the one to the left, and then we'll play the one on the right, and we'll see which one was AI and which one isn't.
Now, this is a story all about how you should take care of your mental health. And I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I became a pro at self-care. In a 4-person family, born and raised, anxiety and depression took most of our days. Chilling, relaxing, trying to be calm, and failing classes came into play. Well,
All right. And now let's play the other. Wait, did you hear the sound? It was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, I didn't pick that up. But yes, it was. I did not get
Okay.
that.
Great. Yeah, that was the beat to it. I don't know if that's copyright. I think we're fine. All right. Let's switch to that skill.
This is a song about how to render because I know that it's not that easy.
I couldn't take 30 seconds of that, Michael. I'm sorry.
That's so good. Okay, which one was
I think
written
they
by
were.
generative AI, or and which one was written by the student?
I I think the one on the right was written by a human because it would be easier to set it to that particular soundtrack than it would be to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I
Okay,
forgot
you
to
think
make a
Fresh Prince
poll.
of Bel-
I think the one on the right is human, the one on the left is AI. And I forgot to put a
and
poll together for this one, so people are going to have to vote in the chat on this one.
okay, even though the song on the right was about rendering, you
Yeah, but
didn't finish playing it, but
I assumed
she
the
goes
class
deep.
was about some sort of graphic design. So rendering is a word I use in my career all the time, so it seemed normal.
Fair, fair. And you are correct. The one on the right is a student from 2020 before ChatGPT came out and did its wonderful stuff. And on the left, I had a class, with this really fun, interesting assignment. I asked them how many of them used chat. Honestly, the grades were already released. I said I wasn't going back to change them. And an overwhelming majority of the class raised their hand. In fact, of the three students who didn't raise their hand, they were like, "Wait, what? We could do that? How could?" And
Wait, I spent an hour and a half on this assignment.
yes, yes. And the reason I wanted to share this story and kind of sit on the slide a little bit is because I think this is what drives it home for many of us, right? This is what we're worried about. I spent a ton of time designing a course that, look, y'all, this course, it's relevant, it's fun, it's engaging, the assignments are unique. I go to all the conferences and I read all the books. And this course is kind of a mashup of all of that. And this assignment was such a great way to explore the neuropsychology and the memory and the temper, like all of these great things. And come to find that the majority of my students, they cheated on it, right? I'm listening to songs that they didn't even write. And when this happened, I walk into the office of the innovation team and I'm just like, teaching's over, higher education's ruined. There's nothing I can do. AI's taking over. This is going to be awful. And fortunately for them, they can't kick me out. But they are really, really, really good at being like, okay, wait, hold on. Let's dial this back. Let's have a conversation and dig deeper. And I think that conversation got me to a place where they basically said, Michael, that student that did that, they did not need ChatGPT to phone in the assignment, right? They did that on their own. They were telling me that the truth of the matter is that those other students, they're disengaged with the assignment. They didn't find it important or relevant or meaningful to them. And the truth of the matter is that they were disengaged before AI was there. AI is not the problem. It's not the disease. It's the symptom. And, we started diving a bit deeper and more into that conversation. And I realized, what I had to do about this is I had to identify what the real problem was for my students in these courses. And the real problem wasn't the robots. The real problem was scale, right? It's the size of this course. It's what scale did not give me the ability to do any more that I once did. And so, something that I really try to echo, like with my team, like we talk about this all the time, the problem was never robots, it's scale. And I know some of you are sitting there like, Michael, the whole reason I signed up for this thing is because robots are the problem. I want to share a couple of numbers with you all to maybe consider this alternative solution to how we move forward in a space where we need to build AI resilient learning experiences. And the three numbers are these. In 1999, 2000, about 8% of undergraduate students were taking at least one online course. In 2007, 2008, that number went up to 20%. But in 2021, that number jumped up to 61%. That is not a trend. That is a earth-shattering transformation. And I want to say something, right? This is not a criticism of online learning or just shove it like, it's like, oh, we got too many students. I think it's something to be celebrated, right? More access, more people able to learn in multiple generations across, COIL, all these really great things. But the problem is we figured how to enroll students at scale. We figured out how to deliver content at scale. But what we didn't figure out was how to make students feel known at scale. Because the truth of the matter is we know what students have been asking for. We know about what gets a student to the point where they are cheating. And the truth of the matter is that the conditions changed dramatically, but the motives didn't. We scaled learning faster than we scaled belonging, relevance, and human connection. And when you have that framework, when you have that mindset, it gives you a significant amount of tools and leverages data and research to help you deploy solutions that will actually transform learning experiences in so many of your courses. And for some of you are still like, okay, Michael, like I get it. Yes, there's more courses, but this AI thing is crazy, right? Yes, it is wild. It has lowered the bar of what I think it takes for a student to engage in activities that we would consider cheating. But the data is there, y'all. The numbers have not changed significantly. The same number of students are reporting cheating. We just have had to now respond to a problem that we've always had. And AI has exacerbated it for us. We got to respond now. So we're going to take this time and I'm going to try to share with you what FIU has done in response to this call. And there are, I read the presentation description, and I think, we got a lot of things that we need to deliver in this promise to you. So here are the things that I'm going to touch upon and what my goals are for the rest of our time together. I want to make sure that I tell you how AI can support relevance and not replace learning. I also want to tell you directly and show you how we use custom chatbots paired with Harmonized to build engagement. I also want to share how design can strengthen integrity without centering on surveillance. And last but not least, how to design learning experiences that are scalable and AI resilient. So I hope I've made my case. I'm going to show you and tell you what we did. And I think the perfect place to start is with geometry. Now, Marcus, I know you haven't seen this whole presentation. This is a different slide for you.
I've been waiting for this one. I'm like, I don't know where you're going with this, but I showed it to Alex and she's like, where's he going with that? I'm like, I have no idea where he's going with this.
So let me explain. This is a picture of my wife and I on our wedding day, the afternoon and the evening. And the reason I wanted to share this picture with you all, or share these pictures with you all, is because people don't tell you the full truth about weddings. A wedding can be the happiest day of your life, I guess. But you know what? It can also be one of the most expensive days of your life. And I remember in getting ready for our wedding, in ordering items, trying to get everything together. One of the things that I was so worried about is our wedding we were trying to get it at sunset. There's this little waterfall in the sun. It turned out great, but that meant that our wedding reception was going to go into the night. And so I needed to figure out, you see those little string lights in the back there, Marcus? The ones up by the trees on the
Yep, got 'em.
photo? I had to figure out how many string light orders I needed to make from Amazon to get the whole venue lit up so that we could have our night. And look, y'all, this is near the end of wedding planning. My budget is already ridiculous. It is insane. So I need to find the exact number of string lights. And I started doing math. I started drawing out the space, right? How wide was it? How long was it? And then, okay, if I do the string lights, I'm even talking about angles of how I have to tie the string lights. Me on a ladder, by the way, doing this. How to tie the string lights so that I got the exact number. Marcus, that's the first time that it hit me. Oh my gosh, this is geometry. This is why I learned tangent and cosine and this was the purpose. But I not once taking geometry in what, high school, middle school, I don't even remember the last time I took it. Did someone say, "Hey, Michael, this is why you're learning this.
Twinkle
This
lights.
is how you apply." Yeah, to save money in a wedding. But I think in our conversations about why are students cheating, what's happening with the belonging, the relevance, is that we have taken for granted that we need to be communicating why learning this thing is valuable or relevant to you, to your interests, to your passions, to your interests. Geometry was relevant in my life. I did not appreciate it until I was broke and Amazon was doing its work during the way. And so this inspired kind of the first framework that you are familiar with, Marcus, for our strategy for a scalable AI resilient learning in our online courses. And what that is a suite of GPTs called the Mirror GPTs. Now, I do want to let everybody know you're going to have access to this presentation at the end. Each of those links will take you directly to these GPTs where you can test them out, have conversations with them. If you'd like, you can reach out to me and my team, and we'll help, talk to you about building them on your own. But what the Mirror GPTs were, they're a set of 3 GPTs with the goal of working on getting students to engage, experience, and appreciate learning relevance, intellectual humility, and the value of curiosity. So in that first GPT, True North GPT, students go through kind of a Socratic dialogue and they discover a personal truth. Once they discover that personal truth, the GPT then ties that, recognizes it, says it out loud, ties that to course content. So, oh my gosh, it seems like you're someone who really cares about privacy. I teach a digital anthropology course, a cyborg anthropology course. And so now we can talk about, oh, that's really important in module 3 and in module 6. Look out for those assignments. You're really going to like the podcast and the readings during that time. We've taken the course material and said, here's how it's personally relevant to you. Back when I was teaching a course of 12 students, I could have those one-on-one conversations and then not disrupt the entire learning experience. But now when I'm sitting in front of 100, 400 students, I needed to get that process happening faster and effectively. Growth Spark talks to them about intellectual humility, why, after taking your first psychology course, you might not have all the knowledge that's equipped to diagnose your parents, even though many undergraduate students in their first psychology course tend to do so. And the last one, WonderFuel, it talks about the value of curiosity and why that is valuable to you, why you should keep on feeding into it, and how this course and its course content tie back into these things that are relevant to you. I could talk more about the concept, but I actually sent True North GPT to Marcus before the presentation, and I really appreciate if you could maybe share your feedback. You didn't tell me much about it. I'm curious. Please don't embarrass me in front of my new friends in the webinar.
Oh, it was terrible, Michael. I thought we canceled the webinar.
Well,
No. Actually, in all honesty, mind blown. I tried to break it. That's what I approached it with. I did multiple runs through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demo what it looks like in the conversation it has and sort of run through a sample. In my experiments, this took anywhere from 3 minutes to 8 or 9 minutes. If it starts going longer than a few minutes, I'm going to just bail out and talk about it, where it went with me. But then I'm also going to share how I tried to break it and how it tied things and when my mind was blown. Because the whole goal, we always teach people in our training classes, authentic assessment. How do we create authentic assessment that ties whatever it is you care about to the real world, to this course material, et cetera? And so I set out to be like, there's no way he's going to tie this to the course material. And sure enough, he did. So let's jump into it. I've actually queued it up a little bit and got it started. So because when you come in, it tells you what it is. It tells you what it's going to do, which is it's going to try to basically find a truth for you and tie it to the course material. It asks who I am. And then it just asks a very, very open-ended, like, what's a habit or a curiosity or a value or a frustration that you have in your life today? And so I'm going to interact with it a couple times so you can kind of see how it goes as we go into it. I find one of the real problems with me is bad news constantly happening. I find myself looking for good news. And then when I find a good news article, I share it with someone because the world is just frustrating right now. All right. So, it validates me. Oh, that feels important, James. Oh, great. It's a robot. It validated me. And I think Michael got some feedback to the effect of like creepy robots, but we'll talk about that in a second. So it's like, it wanted to dig deeper into what I was doing. Are people still capable of decency, hope, or repair? When you share those stories with your friends, what are you hoping happens? Are you lifting their mood, pushing back against cynicism? So it makes me force and stop to think about that frustration. And in this case, I'm really trying to build a sense of community because everybody's depressed. And if our friend group can be happy, at least we're isolated from the outside world in some small degree. So I'll give it that info and let it churn for a second. So it's about the good news that matters, and that's great. But it's like when you're isolated from the outside world to some small degree, are you trying to create a shelter, create a resistance, create a reminder, etc.? And then it walks me through this. So you can get this feeling like it's poking, right? It's poking into why am I worried about this thing? Why am I doing this thing? This is one of the examples I ran with, and I'm going to jump straight to what it told me at the end, which was like, you are actually you're really upset with the algorithms and the algorithms as they appear in news networks, the algorithms as they appear in social media, churning up things that earns clicks, and it ends up with this doom scrolling, etc. You're trying to counteract that with a human element, and then it tied that into the course material about how that plied into digital advocacy. And I was like, okay, that one was easy. The next one I set out to do, I was like, well, I like mountain biking. I just started there. And I'm like, bring it, Michael. See what your course bots have. And it's like, great, you love mountain biking. Why do you love mountain biking? And then it made me unpack why I love mountain biking. And then it started turning into like, well, it's my stress relief. Okay, great. I went through my stress relief and how it makes me feel more calm. And it's like, well, why do you need to feel calm? I'm like, because the world is crazy. All of these things. It pulled it back around. It tied it into the course material as well. And so kudos to Michael. Like, it this is something that never happened in my college, but the fact that I even tried to break it and it did, I think was quite telling. And the way he then integrates this into the course assignments, I'll talk about and I'll demo some of it in a moment, but I think how you built them first, and let's talk about them. Well, actually, Michael, I forget in your slide deck, do you talk about how you integrate them in a few more slides, right? So it's first, how did you build them?
Yeah, I talk about how I built it, but if you want, like, I'll do how I built it, and then we can jump into the demo. I feel like that does
Yeah.
make a bit more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
And I won't talk too long about this, because I have another slide where I talk about what went wrong and why we had to build the way we did. And I really appreciate, Marcus, that you tried to break it, because I can tell you the learning design innovation team sat in front of their computers trying to break this thing, testing with different student attitudes over 2 weeks. And then we had three students test it out themselves. One started to cry, and the other said, I need my boyfriend to use. So, I felt a little, I don't know if that was great, but this has gotten some phenomenal, phenomenal feedback. These were built intentionally, everyone, Socratic by design. We did not want to tell students what we were teaching them. We wanted them to discover something. And we designed the instructions so that you can copy these instructions into another GPT and just upload course supporting materials, and it would replicate the same experience for any course because its foundation was built in Socratic digging and then tying that to the course content. We also designed it to use students' language. So it didn't sound like a expert in the field, is talking to you. If they said a lot of words, it gave them a lot of words back. If it used a few words, it gave them a few words back. In fact, if it just said like, I don't know, if the student said, I don't know, the GPT would say, I need a little bit more from you. It required them, it pushed back. It was not designed to just be like, that sounds like a great idea. And so much so that students described it as like, it's like really real, but almost therapist paced. I also designed it at the end to have a custom goodbye. And what I mean by that is at the end of the conversation that Marcus, you had, you probably got like, oh, this was your takeaway. This is where it's tied into the course. And by the way, here is a pun related to your name and the conversation, right? It was custom to your experience.
Yeah, it did. And it actually was quite, it was the first time I went through it, my voice caught a little bit. Like back to your crying thing. Like I used that example the first time through. I hadn't really unpacked why I keep searching for good news in today's world and sharing it. And when it went through it, I was like, okay, right. Type of thing. I had to your
Yeah.
therapist mode. I was like, man, I don't need to unpack therapy right now. Oh my God. But anyway,
Yeah, and like, Mark is going to show you all in a moment, but how I graded this was not how well they did the conversation. They submit a screenshot to a harmonized discussion, and it is an auto-graded assignment, which I'll talk a little bit about later. And that was it. Because what the focus here wasn't the product that came out. It was the process, the conversation. And I want to talk about that custom message. In one course, it was that, funny pun. In another course, it was a custom code to unlock the following module. Um, in my grading of this, I found that, hey, the likeliness that a student is going to use a chatbot to talk to another AI to talk to another AI to at that point they're like, I might as well just do this thing and then submit it. Because AI resiliency is asking students, hey, we need to be focused on the process, but more than that, make the bar significant where it's like, no, outsourcing this to generative AI is not valuable at all. And then in this conversation is where they type, man, this was super key. Now, Marcus, harmonizes autograde discussion submitting that changed my course so much. I'd love for you to maybe show a little bit of what that setup looks like for those who are familiar with it.
yeah, so what I'll do now is I'll pivot into Canvas and I'll walk through it. And I will say we're going to show this in Harmonize, but you can accomplish with greater difficulty, but you can accomplish some of the things Michael is doing without Harmonize. So um, you don't have to buy Harmonize to accomplish what Michael's after here. I just want to put that out into the world. What I'm going to do is walk through the student's view, because what I found fascinating was how Michael used this to sort of build into an actual human group activity, right? Because it's not just like get them tied to the course and then do your normal thing. What Michael did and built upon this was, okay, to start with, your very first move is record your AI interaction with what you've done. And I've gone ahead and started one of these. It's requiring one post. I did this as just a private assignment. And there's a couple ways that I thought about. Michael, I was kind of brainstorming your assignment stuff because I'm like, wow, you did screenshots to show that they did it. I was like, you could have them do like a video reflection and just be like, oh, well, here's what I felt about that particular thing as we were going through. But then I was like, I started playing with it some more and I'm like, oh my God, we could actually just do a screen share and have them talk about the actual assignment that they were going
Oh,
through.
like a reaction video. That's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, so they could be like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and record that True North thing, and then I'm going to walk through it and be like, okay, at this point in time, this is where I started to cry, and then I filed a complaint with the central office that my instructor was making me cry, or whatever reflection. Hopefully, they didn't go that route, but do they have that type of interaction back and forth with it? Because then they are forced to revisit the conversation and unpack it a little bit as well to be able to do that. And so any of these are possible. They could have just dragged in screenshots, et cetera. This is set up to be auto graded, which then if they submit anything, they get the points. And it's requiring them to do a single submission when they go through it, which then leads into the rest of the modules. So first step, interact with your AI. Does it make sense, Michael, for me to march through? Do you want me to describe what you were accomplishing with these other two, or is it best to have you do that? Or
I'm going to talk about the three-part cadence in a moment.
okay, so
Yeah.
I'll skip that part. So starting with just that reflection of how do we unlock the rest of the learning when we go through, and then we'll come back in and demo sort of the rest of the learning of what he was after. But step one, get it done so you're now tied to the course, so you can then build on that as well.
Yeah, and I mean, man, I really like the reacting. That's really good. I want to talk a little bit to you all. Look, I think I go to webinars or sessions and everyone's talking about like, oh, this thing was perfect, this was incredible. And there's always questions that I have like, really? Like, how did you just got it right on the first try? Like, what
Crushed
was the,
it.
you know what I'm saying? So I want to share kind of like lessons learned along the way and how this has kind of evolved. It's been a 3 semester long kind of pilot, and we're moving to our first multiple courses in the summer version of it. But the first thing is we I don't know how to feel about this, but we had to settle with ChatGPT as the tool that we chose in the end because the Copilot has a feature where it has auto smart replies. And so in our student testing, we built it in Copilot, and the student said, "Well, professor, I could just click the smart reply the whole time and never engage with this GPT." It was basically the AI is talking to itself, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, Copilot, please help me! I'm trying to give you a W." Gemini was solid, but it required students to have a Google account, and we didn't want to ask students to add another account to that space, even though we were fans of Notebook LM. Claude did not have an easy way for us to just use this GPT, embed it anywhere, and have students use that. ChatGPT even had a feature where students didn't have to log into a GPT account, a chat account, in order to use it. It was also the best with token availability. There was a question about, was there an alternative for students who wanted to opt out of that AI option? And there was. That opportunity was have a conversation with me. Only one student ever took that option, asked for that option, and then opted out. I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll let that go. I will say feedback from students is overwhelmingly positive. I'm seeing this in my spots evaluations. I'm seeing this with students as I walk on campus. They talk to me about it. But I will say they were often, what comes up often, they're often creeped out that it felt like talking to a person. And for so many of our students right now, they're so sensitive to generative AI in this space. They're like, I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know if I like that, or if I like that, I like that. So I think even that in itself was really great feedback. I had students who've had me in a face-to-face course before, who've known me personally, who said, "Professor, it sounded like I was talking to you." So really great feedback in that space. I have to credit the team. They built a phenomenal GPT product. Um, Now, I know, Marcus, you're saying that you don't need Harmonize to do this, and you don't need Harmonize to do this. However, when I first did this, I was using multiple tools. I used a discussion. I just used LMS Canvas discussion tool. And what ended up happening was students were filling it out, submitting, and then I had to go back and grade this thing that kind of backlogged me a bit more because I'm just looking at screenshots. And now it's been 3 semesters. I haven't found anyone who's gone to Photoshop or, I don't know, Nano Banana and tried to get the custom closing message to say their name. That amount of work, they're learning much more than my course can teach them. So the auto grading component of Harmonize really alleviated frustrations for my students. They felt they could close that chapter, move on, and get into the work. It helped me move to higher feedback needing assignments. And it did, though, bring another problem that's a me problem. These conversations are so good. Sometimes my students, they're uploading screenshots of their entire conversation that I'm now spending more time grading them. And everyone, I want to tell you this. I don't know whoever taught you this. I don't know whoever lied to you, but you can make assignments you enjoy grading. Please reprioritize that. This
Come
is
on,
one of the
Michael. Come on, Michael.
I want to share an email. I was actually talking to Marcus about this that a student sent me 2 days ago, but 3 days ago. I've had this student face to face. She is brilliant. She is very, very strong in her conviction. She will ask you why. I'm not going to learn anything just to learn it. And in it, she said in this email, "Child professor, I did not notice there was a GPT assignment overdue, but I just finished it. Can we access this chat after the class is over?" It was eye-opening. It is amazing to see how the conversation started with me expressing how am borderline going insane and finished with a reflection that I needed to digest. I apologize again for the very late submission. I want just a couple dimensions here. She's asking for access to something tied to the learning material after the course is done and still apologizing for submitting to this thing late, right? This is an activity that brought in a personal touch. And I know it's hard. We got to balance the whole, yeah, but she was having a conversation with a GPT. She was, but it did translate into a follow-up and a continued connection with me. And so much so, I think that's also what activated her to apologize for a late submission because the student that I know would have never apologized for submitting something late. That was my problem. So I do want to say overwhelmingly really positive, shows up in spots evaluations, and has helped tie relevance to the learning material. I want to jump into kind of the second major framework we use to approach AI resilient learning here for especially our online courses at scale. And that's a three-part collaborative cadence. Now, I'm going to ask Marcus to show you all a little bit of what that looks like, but here's the idea. What we do is we take a course and we reimagine the course around either 4 projects or one major project broken into 4 parts. Whatever course you're teaching, we've applied this into humanities courses, philosophy courses, cyborg anthropology courses, business courses, marketing courses, and art courses, right? We have taken the gamut and said, okay, if you're willing to go on this journey with us, let's reimagine your course either one major project broken up into 4 parts or 4 projects throughout the semester. We've then placed students into groups of 4 or 5. And I want to say the reason that I like the number 4 to 5 is it catches nobody gets super lost. If there's one person inactive, you still get the 4. And we found that that's a bit more manageable for our really big courses where creativity and collaboration can still exist. And then we break the assignments up, these 4 projects, into 3-week sprints. What I mean by that is week 1, you as an individual get a prompt and you submit it. Get a prompt. You get an assignment, you get an ask, you submit that, and you submit it to a peer review. You are then reviewing. So from Monday to Thursday, you're working on your own content, you're submitting that. From Friday to Monday, you're reviewing peers in your group. Week 2, you then meet with your group not meet with your group, but have conversations with your group in discussions, and you vote and say, hey, I really liked this person's submission that I reviewed. It was really, really good. I think we should build our final product around that submission. And then during Monday through Thursday of that week, you're talking about which one you liked, which one you're voting for. And then from Friday to Monday, you're saying, okay, this is the one we voted for, and these are the changes that we would do, or this is the updates we would make so that we can refine this thing, make this one a little as best as we can. The third week is a week where students can go ahead and refine this and make this the best final product. And that at the end of that week, that's when I go in and give my feedback. Now, I think I want, Marcus, you can go in and show what that looks like, the peer review, the harmonized discussion, and then the final submission. And then I can talk to you all a little bit about how this has worked out and some lessons learned along the way.
For sure. And the things that jumped out at me about this, so you've already anchored the people to why the course is important to them. Now you're asking them to design a project so that they have ownership of their learning, right? And the ownership of their learning is authentic to their life because they now understand why they should care about this course. And then you're having them work in groups so that we now have the full human mode that we enabled with the initial AI to get them engaged in the course. We brought them in so that now they actually care a little bit more about this course. They have the motivation. So when they jump into that group, they are advocating for whatever assignment they want to do. They have that ownership. They are working together on that. So that's not work on Michael's part for them to figure out. He's just there kind of facilitating things. So he's like offloaded some of the workload to help with the scale problem. And then he rolled into group work with them. And like that was the quintessential, like, oh my God, that's awesome. Because I'd done this AI interaction. In that AI interaction, I actually went ahead and started brainstorming with the AI. I don't know if you meant for this to happen or not, Michael, but I continued with that, talking through what the group project could be. How would I tie this into the course material? Because that I didn't know as much about the course as the bot did. And I started brainstorming different projects I could do that were relevant to me to be able to submit. And yeah, sure, those were AI written, but they were relevant to me. And I wanted to then go do that project in group work. So it's not just me doing the project with AI on my own. It's me using AI to brainstorm something, taking it into group and working with it. So it was like this nice sidestep into humanity as well. So when he went into the peer review, so I'm logged in as a student right now. I've gone into the peer review and I've already submitted my my idea that I wanted to do. I included an elevator pitch video because I think that was one of the things the course wanted me to do, why I thought it was good, how it tied to course materials, what the project I thought we could work on was. And this is our peer review thing, which is meant to alleviate a lot of the pain that would make Michael cry if he tried to do this with Canvas peer review, in that it automates everything for you. And this is where I'll say you may not be able to do this part with Canvas peer review without much pain, but people are happy to, or I'm happy to be argued with on that front. But what we're doing is basically we are breaking people into groups. We are auto managing the assignment of who is doing what peer review. And then when they have submitted their work, they then have the ability to come in and actually start the peer review, where we will then walk them through like, okay, here is what Nick submitted as his problem and his solution and the project that he wanted to work on. And I set this one up as anonymous, which I probably shouldn't have, but it'll actually let me come through and use Michael's rubric of what he wanted to be as an important part. And I don't know, Michael, if you did rubric scoring or just straight scoring when you were doing it, but I chose rubric scoring so I could guide my students into, why did I think this way?
I always do rubric scoring.
Okay.
Always.
And so it forces the students to sort of walk through what Michael wants them to think about, providing commentary along the way, and then allows them to use those same tools I was showing you before, where they can come on video and talk about it, or they can do whatever they want. They can, of course, type simple comments and such and publish it. This is all auto-graded as well, because this is another one where it's like the important part is you interact with each other. We are forcing you to fill out the rubric and to write things about each rubric criteria. And we can even force them to write a summary comment if you want as well. But Michael is not grading each of the assessments. He's just formalizing how these people are interacting, how these students are interacting with each other inside their group. So they had to formally critique. I don't know how many you did, Michael. Did you have them do two, critique two of each other's, or three or four, or?
Three is the minimum. That's why I try to keep it at 4 or 5.
Okay.
Five.
Cool.
If there's 5, I have them review 3. If there's 4, I have them review 2.
Cool. And so it handles all that, and then now they basically have received formal peer review from their peers, submitted to peer review. So they've learned both from being reviewed and reviewing others, so that when they roll into the next step, which is, okay, now I want to see everybody in my group's proposal, they have to, let me go into the modules and just show you instead of talking about it. They are then going to have a group discussion where they each have to submit their cleaned up proposal, because they just received 2 or 3 in Michael's cases peer review on their work, and this one is telling them basically to select your idea and submit it and clean it up and everything, and then the students come in and submit things, and then they are having a full-blown conversation about why they like each other's things. In this case, I required them to do 1 post and 2 comments. So they could then come in and make sure we're looking at enough of the student work that they are then going to vote on which of the projects in their group do they want to proceed with. And in this case, we used reactions to do the voting. I don't know, Michael, is that how you did it? Did you do reactions? Okay, cool.
Yes, reactions and comments.
And comments, okay. So Laverne got all the comments and all of the reactions for being good idea. And so this is the thing that the small group is going to proceed with into their group assignment. So they've now discussed it and talked about it inside the discussion. And then they're finally eventually rolling into a formal group submission. And this one I didn't do in Harmonized because I think Canvas handles this better than Harmonized does, to where it's like turn in an actual group assignment that Michael then has to grade just one group assignment for each group of 5. So if he has 100 students, he's now dealing with grading 20 things because they've all worked together and thrashed around on it and such before they then turn in the group assignment. And so he went full AI, tie it to the course, into formalized students interacting with each other, into informal student ownership of what they're going to work on, into they then went and worked on it and turned in the final project. And I don't know, Michael, did I capture? That was me listening to you and then rebuilding it all. Did I capture it all?
I think you really did. And look, everyone, I want to just, yeah, Mark, thank you. I want to say that the tool really helped us manage dealing with large enrollment courses. This cadence allowed for every 3 weeks. That's when you focus and you dial in on high quality feedback. And look, I think I see some of the questions, folks are asking like, oh my gosh, but what about your AI detection stuff? Like, how do you know if they're... I have given up on the cat and mouse game of being able to determine whether AI detection is there. Look, we all didn't identify which jokes were written by AI or not. I am listening to music every day that are not that are not sung by real people. I think that is a losing game. What we need to focus on is addressing the problem that scale has brought in and create enough layers and enough of an environment where integrity could be managed, mitigated in the way we deliver our content. Those first 2 weeks, I'm just looking at participation. It's that third week where the content and the quality are really driven home, where the truth of the matter is the amount of work a student would require to do all of this through generative AI, they're going to end up learning what my learning goals are anyway. And the community is supposed to help cultivate accountability. Because one thing that community always cultivates is if I'm doing hard work and you're phoning it in, I'm going to find a way to either talk to you about it, hold you accountable, or send my professor a screenshot of the WhatsApp group. A couple of growing pains with this. Group work is hard, y'all. You got to put the work in it. The first 3 weeks are so vital. Week 1, it's a toss away for me. That's why it's 4 3-week projects, because that's 12 weeks. But the first 3 weeks, it's week 1 is kind of throwaway, get used to the course. Week 2, now it's after drop ad. We can talk about your reflections to the Mirror GPT. And week 3, we then kind of start accountability and group cultivating. Pay attention to that first week assignment because you may have to mix teams up for the rest of the projects to go well. So that's one lesson that we learned. Only using one platform is a saving grace. When I first started this, we were using Harmonized for discussions, Critic for peer review, Canvas for submissions. Students jumping through all of those tools lost it. Streamlining it in just 1 to 2 platforms really made it much more manageable. And I want to say this strategy is ideal for full terms. I will let you know how it goes in the summer. I'm a little worried about the 3 cadence for 1 week, but we'll keep our fingers crossed. We've got 5 minutes, but we're near the end here. So I want to share a bit of feedback I got from one of our students in a humanities course on this 3 cadence response. And he was having a course that was not group members that were not engaging with him. And these group members, he reached out to me. He's like, what do I do? What do I do? Finally, there was one other group member who was like, I'm sorry, can we connect? This is what he wrote me. He said, my group wasn't really active, but even working with just one other person made it different. The projects were creative and actually interesting, which honestly made it worse because I could see how cool this class could be if they had just locked in more. I think we really need to focus on creating those type of assignments where the social value is seen and validated. Because that's what's going to help us circumvent the need for ridiculous surveillance in order to catch the AI. And some of my underlying frameworks here, these are things that are in each of the assignments that we built are kind of these 4 points that I really hope that you take home with you, because you can say, all right, Michael, we'll do the custom GPTs that have got the constructivism angle in there and use the Socratic dialogue logic. But these are 4 things that at the core of our instructional design are in each of those pieces. Every assignment needs to have a why are you doing this? And it's okay to say you're doing this because I need you to read the material in order to know what you're talking about. So every assignment needs to begin with a why are you doing this? Assignments need to have as much effort put into them to ensure that students can personalize them for their purpose. In my cyborg anthropology course, they're creating a digital campaign for a project that they are interested in using in their careers afterwards. When you add that layer, you're not only going to get high quality, you're going to get students who are bought into this and are giving you something that is more likely authentic than just pieced together one input from GPTs. Because the truth is, I want you to use an LLM. I have no problem with that. But I want you to push back, refine, and practice those skills I taught you in the Mirror GPTs to create something that is actually you. Create a digital virtual assistant to help manage questions. I'm trying to get you all to maintain a little bit of time so that you can spend that extra time in uploading weekly videos and checking in with your students and updating relevant material. I share podcasts all the time about, oh my gosh, this just dropped. And in using, I'm a huge fan of Canvas's message students who. Because I'm grading major projects only every 3 weeks, every 2 weeks, I can log back in and message students who grades are falling lower. We do not have a robot problem. We have a scale problem. And the way that we can lock back in is remembering those three things that students require: belonging, relevance, and human connection. That's all we got. Our time is like 2 minutes. I answered one question in the Q&A. I will go back and see if there's another one. I think David's been doing some really good work there.
No, I mean, that was awesome. So we will be following up, I think, with the recording of this. It sounds like Elizabeth will do that. The presentation, he's got the chatbots for you to play with. Man, amazing stuff. Like this was, I think, one of the most exciting projects I've seen and all the people I've talked to. So hat tip to Michael. And thank you for taking the time amongst your busy life to present this to everyone. I think super cool as well. So any questions for the last minute? If we can answer them, happy to do so. And I guess while we're waiting to see if any questions come in, I will put on my hat and say, if you did want to check out the Harmonized tools, we offer a free pilot for a semester, so you can play with them, see how they work for you. No obligation. We believe in the tools, so go play with them. You can find that on our website, harmonizedlearning.com. To fill it out, one of our guys will contact you and get you set up, so you can then play with those types of tools if you want.
And
actually,
feel free to reach out to anyone. We love talking about brilliant learning things. Heather, I see you in the audience. I'm so glad you joined.
Yeah, hi Mackenzie and everyone else I saw that I recognized in there as well. Heather, everybody. So all right, sounds good. Looks like just tons of thank yous. And
Michael, we did have one question come through. Have you adapted this for a language course yet?
Oh my gosh, we have a project starting on that. Our chair just switched, but we have a project working on that. We're using H5P to do, I think, the week 1, and then week 2 is community conversations, and week 3 is the part of their project. So yes, we're doing it first with Haitian Creole, and then hoping to expand that out to one of our French faculty. I don't know what that assignment looks just yet. We just started those collaborations. But if you've got ideas you would like to just please reach out. I'd love to connect my team with you, because this is something that's really important to all of our fields, and getting an answer to is something that's going to benefit us all and our students most importantly.
And Michael did drop his innovation email address out into the chat for you guys to reach out to as well. Looks like olinnovate@fiu.edu. So.
And Laura, please reach out. I think we have a business professor who's using this strategy. I can ask them for some insight, and maybe they can give an example for that.
Awesome. All right. Elizabeth, we held you over. I didn't know if you actually needed time at the end. Sorry.
No, this is the part that I really hate about these webinars, having to sort of cut people off, especially when you have such great conversations like this. And I enjoyed the webinar, and I learned a ton of stuff here. And I got to say, for the beginning, the jokes that you had, they were spot on. I was sitting here laughing with you all. So highly appreciate.
I want you to know, Elizabeth, I didn't write any of them, but I did love all of them.
Fantastic. Those are my type of jokes. I love dad jokes. If there's a lot of people putting those in there.
I didn't love all of them. Sorry, Michael.
Marcus, we were friends before this, but I knew this webinar would do this to us.
It's over.
Well, let's shake off your friendship. Send an update out later on that. No. But yeah, no, thank you everyone for coming to this webinar, and thank you, Michael and Marcus, for sharing your expertise. Like I said, that was fantastic. The recording, and we'll have the links to the slides, will go out in about 24 hours. So tomorrow you'll get an email with those. And I just have on the screen share here, if you're interested in any additional webinars coming up, the list is right there. You can find them on our webinar page should you need them. And give me one moment